All right, welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. You know how this works. This time, we're going deep on something I think you'll find pretty interesting. It's this idea of spiritual nourishment. Yeah, you heard that right. Like, what if we thought about, that saying, you are what you eat, but for our souls?
Oh, I like that. You are what you eat, but make it spiritual.
Exactly. So I found this writing. It's called Pasted Text. And it really got me thinking about all this. Like, what are we consuming spiritually? What are we feeding our spirits day in and day out? And does it even matter?
It's like a spiritual diet. I'm intrigued already.
Right. It's a pretty wild concept, right? So the text starts off with this idea, and tell me if I'm getting this right, but it seems like it's saying that our beliefs, the things we take in spiritually, they really do have an impact. Like it's not just some abstract idea. It shapes us.
Absolutely. That's one of the core points the text makes. And I think using food metaphor really helps make it, a little more concrete.
Yeah, it makes it so much easier to grasp. I mean, we all know the idea of needing physical nourishment, but this spiritual nourishment thing, what does that even look like?
Well, the text gets into that. It actually uses this passage from the Bible, John 6:35, where Jesus calls himself the bread of life.
Okay, bread of life. I've heard that before.
Yeah, and in a nutshell, what it means is that coming to Christ, it's not just about like intellectually believing something. It's about finding real sustenance, something that satisfies a much deeper need that we all have.
Wow. Okay, so there's more to it than just saying, I believe. There's a deeper level of like internalizing it, letting it actually nourish you.
Exactly. And it's not just about, going through the motions or checking boxes. It's about a genuine lived experience, a transformation.
So hold on, let me see if I'm following you here. So believing in Christ is like actually what? Taking him in as nourishment, like he's becoming part of you, shaping you from the inside out.
That's a great way to put it. That's the kind of imagery the text uses, and it's pretty powerful.
It is. But that makes me wonder about like, well, if Christ is the true food, as the excerpt says, what's all the other stuff we're filling up on? What are the spiritual empty calories or even like junk food out there?
Oh, that is such a great question. And yeah, the text gets into that too. I mean, think about it, right? There are so many things that promise us fulfillment, happiness, purpose, things like material positions, always chasing the next thing, or fleeting
Oh,
pleasures.
yeah. The quick fixes that leave you feeling even worse later.
Exactly. And even some ideologies or belief systems, right? They might seem to offer easy answers, but they lack real depth. They don't truly nourish us. Just like junk food might taste good in the moment, these things can leave us feeling empty and unfulfilled in the long run.
Okay, wow. That's kind of a scary thought. So are we saying that just believing in anything, even something that sounds good, could actually be harmful?
Well, the text presents it as a choice, right? It uses this really stark language, bread of life versus the bread of death.
Whoa. Okay, bread of death. That's pretty intense. I mean, we're not talking about actual physical death here, right?
Right. It's more about what the text calls spiritual death, which again sounds really dramatic, but it's not about like dropping dead. It's about that state of emptiness, that lack of genuine purpose or meaning in life. And that can lead to all sorts of other problems, don't you think?
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like with food. If you only eat junk, your body starts to fall apart.
Exactly. It's like spiritual malnutrition. We're starving that part of ourselves that needs to be fed with truth and meaning.
Okay, spiritual malnutrition. Wow. So I guess the big takeaway here, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that we need to be more careful about what we're taking in spiritually, just like we are with our physical diet.
Absolutely. It's about being intentional, being discerning. What we consume, whether physically or spiritually, shapes who we become. It affects our thoughts, our actions, our entire outlook on life.
So ultimately, it's our choice, right? What we feed our souls, what we let shape our inner lives, and it matters a lot.
And that brings us back to that question that the excerpt ends with, which will you choose, the bread of life or the bread of death? It's a powerful image and one worth reflecting on, I think.
I agree. That's definitely something for everyone listening to really chew on. We've got to be mindful of what we're consuming, what we're letting shape our lives, because ultimately it shapes who we are, and that's something to think about. So until next time, everyone, thanks for joining us on another deep dive.
Thanks for having me. It's been a great discussion.